Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. Today we have a very wonderful soul who is visiting all the way from Belgium, and it's very fortunate. We are all very fortunate to have Maharaj Bhakti Prabhava Swami Maharaj with us. It is said in Bhagavatam that um, Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimuktes. That is, by serving the Mahatmas, one can get liberation. And who is Mahatma? It's also said in that verse, but it is said in Bhagavad Gita, after many, many births, Bhavanam Janmanamante, Jnanaman Mam Prapadyate, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. One who has surrendered fully to Vasudeva. Everything is Vasudeva. Everything is Krishna. That person is a Mahatma, and that is very, very rare. And Maharaj exemplifies that. He is breathing in and out only Krishna's service. So such a Mahatma is very, very rare, and coming into contact with him and getting his association is also very rare. So in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, all of you are coming. So please take advantage after coming all this. Hear from him nicely. I'm also part of that same group of amongst you, trying to hear as much as I could and assimilate the message of Maharaj's Krishna Katha. And Maharaj served, took initiation in 1998, first initiation from Bhakti Char Maharaj. And 1999, he got Brahmana initiation. And 2015, he got Sannyas initiation. And then he served in many capacities as a GBC secretary and executive committee secretary. And also, he also serving right now as a Shastri Shastri Advisory Committee. So, and also is serving in Bhaktivedanta Mahavidyalaya. And so Maharaj is continuously doing some service. In the middle of that, he is also going around the world, giving Krishna consciousness to all of us, people like us who are struggling in this material world. So thank you very much, Maharaj, for being with us. And it's very wonderful that you're here. And Maharaj will be here tomorrow. You'll be giving Bhagavatam class in the morning again. So please join if you can personally, otherwise on Zoom. And then on Saturday, early morning is flying to US. So take advantage of his presence now. Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Chinansanasana Sakshvanvitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Buddha Swayam Rupakadamayam Tadati Swapatam Tikam Vandeham Shiyu Shiyuda Padakamanam Shivam Vaishnavam Shah Shirupam Sarjatam Sakanaranatam Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Sadutam Pajana Saitam Shri Krishna Chidanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagalita Shivishakam Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopakanta Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanshana Kalanki Radhe Vrindavanashva Vishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamam Hari Priya Pankha Kalpta Vishakya Pasnavai Visha Patinam Pravanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Nama Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padai Krishna Vastai Bhuttai Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tunamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharini, Nirvishesha Sinyavadi Paskachai Dasatarini. Srila Prabhupada ki. So this evening I will continue with the seminar of obtaining the bliss of chanting. So this seminar is based on Harinam Chintamani. Who wrote Harinam Chintamani? Who know? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he wrote Harinam Chintamani in 1900. How old was Prabhupada at that time?
4 years old.
4 years old, yeah, 1900. And Harinam Chintamani, it focuses on how to overcome aparat, the 10 offenses against the holy name. And it is written in a form of a samvad, a dialogue between Namacharya Haridas Thakur and Lord Chaitanya. It gives us insights on the practice of the chanting of the holy name. In the first part of Harinam Chintamani, the process of the holy name, the chanting of the holy name, is presented in 3 stages. So the chanting of the holy name is a process. Not only a process, it's the means to make spiritual advancement, but it's also the goal at the same time. Because when the chanting purifies us, and when we become pure, we develop love for God, and that's the goal. Then when we develop love of God, what do? Chanting the holy name, we continue. So there are 3 stages in the chanting of the holy name. What are these 3 stages? Who knows? Aparat is the first offensive stage. The second stage, Namabhas is the clearing stage. How Rupa Goswami gives us an overview of the process from Shraddha to Prema. 9 stages. Namabhas is which stage? No. Anartha-nivritti, purification of the heart. So that's the clearing stage, Namabhas. And the 3rd stage, how is the 3rd stage called? Sudanam, the pure stage, and that starts at Nistha. That's where it starts. So what happens when we chant the holy name in the offensive stage? Or what is the offensive stage? It's committing these 10 offenses. 10 offenses are all forms of disrespect. Disrespect to the devotees, disrespect to the holy name, disrespect to the spiritual master, and so on. And if we disrespect all this, but we disrespect the holy name, and the holy name is Krishna. And because we make offenses, we cannot make advancement. But what happens during the offensive stage? Are we becoming purified?
No.
No?
Yes.
Yes.
Progress to the purified. Advance.
We progress to the purified. Different proposals that we can hear what Haridas Thakur says. He says, during the offensive stage, the heart does not become purified from the bulk of anarthas. A few maybe, but it's going very slow. that because the holy name is Krishna. Krishna is unlimited power. His holy name has unlimited power. But that unlimited power does not become manifest to us in the apparent stage. That if one, how does one go to the next stage? Is overcoming these 10 offenses. That of avoiding these 10 offenses while chanting attentively. And then the power of the holy name becomes partially manifest. That it will start to remove the impurities of the heart. That so that's known as namabhas. That so the powers of the holy name are always present. They are there, but we as chanters of the holy name can only perceive the full power of the holy name when all these anarthas in our heart, ocean of anarthas, when all these material desires are removed from the heart. That when means giving up these offenses, means giving up our offensive mentality. That when our offensive mentality is removed, then we are in a transition from darkness to dawn, and we enter a cloudy daylight. That's namabhas. That at that point, the full sun of the holy name is not yet visible. That I know very much because I'm from Belgium, always cloudy, always. A few days sun in the air, it's rare, the sunlight. But not in Vancouver, seemingly. That's not nice. But yeah, we want the full sun of the holy name. But in the namabhas, the powers of the holy name become healthy manifest. In the daylight, we can see everything clearly. So in the stage of namabhas, we start to see things as they truly are. We wake up to the reality that Prahlad Maharaj always said to me, first become conscious, then become Krishna conscious. So you chant, you become purified, and you become conscious of our real situation. We are not a body and so on. But the process of attaining liberation, Nishta is liberation. The process of attaining liberation from material desires, usually it takes time. That it begins, this attaining liberation begins when one chants the holy names without offenses. So the stage of purification or anartha nivritti is characterized by removing all these material cravings, all these material desires from the heart. Therefore it's called the clearing stage, namabhas. And that will lead us to purify the heart and elevate us to the point of experience the full power of the sun. Full power of the sun brings us to the stage of Sudhana. So chanting in namabhas is clearing stage. It removes our material attachments. The chanting in Sudhana will not purify the heart because the to chant Sudanam, you must be purified already. So when you chant Sudanam, then Sudanam will produce love for Krishna. So to progress from apara to namabhas, what should we do? Bhajana Kriya.
Chant.
Bhajana Kriya. You have two kinds of Bhajana Kriya. Anishtita Bhajana Kriya and Nishtita Bhajana Kriya. In the first, it is unstudied. We are not studying the chanting. Sometimes a few rounds, sometimes 16 rounds, sometimes a little more, not study. And also in the following the four related principles in the beginning is maybe a little difficult. At a certain moment you follow, and then it becomes nishtita bhajana kriya. One becomes study, following the four related principles, and it chant 16 rounds, hearing Prabhupada's books, reading Prabhupada's books every day. One is study, is nishtita bhajana kriya, study, devotional service, going to purify the heart. Yeah? Everyone agrees? And still it's not like that. It's not sufficient. It's not sufficient to be studied chanting. One must give up the 10 offenses to come to the clearing stage. It's not automatically. One can chant 4 or 5 years with offenses and still not be in anartha-nivriti. It's not automatically. We will hear more about that. So therefore it's so important to, of course, when you are studying the chanting and you make offenses, still some purification is going on, but it's very, very small. It's insignificant and it's difficult. It takes a long time. There is a verse that says one can chant this holy name. If one chants this holy name, committing the sin of the 10 offenses, one can chant for many lifetimes and not attain love of God. So that's so important. So we must give up these 10 offenses. That's the point. So giving up these offenses, this offensive mentality, goes together with surrender to Krishna. My spiritual master, Bhakti Charamaj, he explains it as follows. Surrender means we are surrendering to Lord Krishna and let him take care. So that's the meaning of Sharanagati. Sharanagati, taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. It means Krishna will take care of us to the extent we are surrendering. So once in the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was working in his room in the temple. And before his room, devotees were discussing something. And Maharaj came out of his room and asked what they were discussing. And one disciple said, Guru Maharaj, since many years I'm chanting the holy names, but despite I feel that I'm not making any progress. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj replied, to feel that you are not progressing is good. When we think we are progressing, that we have become a pure devotee, that's a very dangerous attitude. Of course, if we feel that we are not making any progress and nothing is happening, we must question to ourselves, to what extent did I surrender to Krishna? Because to the extent we surrender to Krishna, Krishna will take care of us. When Maya is attacking us, or Guru Maharaj said, when Maya is attacking us, then that is due to our lacking in devotional service. When we become subjected to Maya's onslaught, it's our fault. We didn't submit enough. We are not fully surrendered, and therefore Lord Krishna's illusory energy is bewildering us. But when we are fully surrendered to Krishna, then Maya comes also. Maya comes to test our devotion. And the devotee, by the mercy of Krishna, always passes these tests. When Maya comes, then Krishna is testing us. Maya is testing us how serious we have become in our devotion. Because when we are in the body concept of life, we want to enjoy sense gratification. And when one comes to the intellectual platform, one strives for liberation, from bhakti to mukti. But Srila Prabhupada points out liberation or renunciation is of two kinds, negative and positive. My Guru Maharaj was with Prabhupada the last 7 months that he was in Vrindavan. One night or one day, Srila Prabhupada explained this to Bhakti Charamaj. He said, there is negative and positive liberation. First, Prabhupada explains the negative liberation. It's like a prisoner. It thinks that getting out of the prison is the goal of life. He tries to escape from the prison by digging a tunnel or scaling over the wall, and then he may be out of prison. But is he free when he's out of the prison? No. The police may go after him. So that's negative liberation. The positive liberation is different, Prabhupada said. So the real way to get out of the prison is to make an appeal to the king and write him a letter saying, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I promise that I will never make this mistake again. I'm surrendering myself unto you. And from now on, I will serve you and abide by your laws. So the king receives that appeal, and he may send a message to the prison authority that such prisoner has made his appeal, so please watch him, how he's behaving. Then the prison authorities, they start to watch him and treat him in a special way. And when they see that he's acting properly, they use him as a role model to demonstrate to others that a role model for the other prisoners. So they tell everyone, you act and behave like him, and you will get the same facility. And then the king receives a report saying that he's acting so nicely. And the king feels that I need a good servant. And the king say, send him to my palace. So Prabhupada said that's positive liberation, from the prison to the palace of the king. When he's in prison, he's not treated like a prisoner. So he's treated in a unique way because he's subject to state laws and his authorities. That's why the ultimate goal is to surrender to Krishna. Yeah. Like a child does not know what is for his benefit, but the parents know. As such, everything what is happening is for my benefit. Krishna knows what is for my benefit. I may not know. From the moment you start to perform devotional service, everything what's happening is Krishna's arrangement. Because when a child is submissive and the parents, they are capable, then they make all wonderful arrangements for them, for the children. Similarly, when we surrender to Krishna, Krishna takes care. Therefore, a surrendered devotee accepts suffering as Krishna's loving hand to correct us. So this is the realization of Lord Brahma in his prayer. He says, the best act, this is his verse, in this verse he says, he expresses his realizations. He says, the best course of action is one patiently suffers the reactions of our misdeeds. This verse. So in that way, a devotee, therefore, it does not become jubilant in happiness or distressed in difficulty. Of course, in the Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, we have the story of the sannyas Brahman who lived in Avanti, Ujjain today. And this is an example of someone tolerated all disturbances, all harsh words and offenses created by evil persons. Yet the mendicant Brahman considered all these troubles just a reaction of his past misdeeds. And that throughout his life he had been greedy, miserly, and he became easily angry. He did not allow his relatives and servants any kind of enjoyment. So he became very unaffectionate toward. Everyone became unaffectionate toward him. At a certain moment, by providence, thieves stole everything, and all the family members also took his wealth away. And at that moment, when he had no possessions, he was abandoned by everyone, the Brahman developed a deep sense of renunciation. He understood his striving for his wealth with great effort caused him fear, anxiety, confusion. So he said this trying to get wealth and preservation of wealth caused him 15 unwanted items. Thus, thievery, violence, lying, deception, lust, anger, pride, feverishness, disagreement, hatred, distrust, conflict, attachment to women, gambling, intoxication. When he understood that Krishna had taken away his wealth, he understood how merciful Krishna was to him. He felt that because the Lord must have been satisfied with him, he got that sense of detachment which was arising in his heart. So the Brahman accepted sannyas, that renounced order of life. And then he speaks the sannyas mantra. And one of the sannyas mantras. Tamsa staya pratmanishyam atyastam profatamer marshibhyam tarisham turantamukam. Yeah. Tamsa staya pratmanishyam atyastam profatamer marshibhyam. Ham tarisham turantaparam tamomukundanga nisheva shenat. He said, whatever it takes, I will cross over this ocean of nations of the material world and take shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, whatever it takes, that tolerating everything. So he remained fixed in his spiritual practice. That in the, of course, you have this special this verse in the 10th canto, chapter 88:8, quoted by Prabhupada many times. He said, if Krishna is pleased with his devotee, it takes away everything he's attached to. And then he suffers. But Krishna says, by that you can see that a devotee has received my mercy. That anyway, it's a sign of Krishna's mercy. Srila Prabhupada writes in his commentary, therefore, it is sometimes experienced that the Lord, out of his special affinity for a weak devotee, breaks the family affection by force of circumstances, arranged by his all-powerful energy. By doing so, he causes the devotee to become completely dependent on him, and thus he clears the path for his going back to Godhead. But that's not the only reason. Prabhupada gives an additional reason that one is fortunate when one is bereft from all one's possessions and fortune. He said, such material assets are all products of the three modes of material nature. They foil the spiritual energy, and thus the less we possess such products of material nature, the more we have a good chance for spiritual progress. So the main thing is surrender to Krishna, and and not becoming affected by so-called happiness, distress. Surrenders become natural when we see Krishna as the greatest of all personalities. Then we give up our false ego, thinking ourselves the controllers, the enjoyers, the possessors, the proprietors. So these 10 offenses are fueled by false ego. False ego comes with identifying ourselves with the gross and subtle body. And by that we become, instead of becoming Krishna Das, we become Godas, servant of the senses, trying to provide sense gratification to a temporary body. That it's madness. And the result is not satisfying. It's miserable. That unless we stop putting our bodily and mental urges in the center of our existence, we will not be able to progress spiritually. So this exploitative mentality of living for the pleasure of the senses, it's opposed to spiritual liberation and self-realization. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 3:17, one who lives only for the pleasure of the senses lives in vain for nothing. That you die at the end of life, and you have to leave this body which you liked so much giving all pleasures to the body. It's all for nothing. Lives in vain, Krishna says. So, if we chant the holy name, we should not identify with the body. We should identify ourselves as Krishna says, as this, or Lord Chaitanya says, we should identify ourselves as the servant of the servant of Lord Krishna. The servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord Krishna. Kopi Bhaktu Kamalayo Dasana Dasana Das. So that's the natural position for the spirit soul. And to attain this position, we must remove our ignorance from our consciousness, which makes us identify with this body and which covers the soul. So to remove this, we must accept the spiritual master and hear from him Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. We don't have a living spiritual master. We accept for the time being Prabhupada as spiritual master and hear or read Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So by hearing about Krishna, we come to realize that we are not Krishna. That we realize that we are parts of Krishna and that our happiness lies in taking shelter of his divine energy by coming connected with him through the practice of devotional service. And then purification of the body, the mind, and senses will begin. So that's seeing oneself as a servant of the servant of the servant. It's called chanting the holy name with the attitude, inner attitude of being a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. That's called Sambandha Jnana, knowledge of our relationship with Krishna, chanting with that knowledge. It's very important. By that, the purification starts, we become purified, and our lives become more happy, more satisfied. Because it's satisfied, our real self, the spirit soul. And ultimately, the soul, what does it want? It wants to love and be loved. But do we get that in this world? Not much. That tendency to love and be loved must be directed toward Krishna in service. And then we will attain it as we become purified. And that's what the soul wants, love and be loved unconditionally without interruption. It's not like love between, so-called love between man and wife. I love you. 3 years later, I hate you. No, that's not love. That's lust. So love begins on the transcendental platform. Understanding the difference between lust and love is not easy. One must be purified to begin to understand it. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says in the 4th chapter of the Madhyalila Chaitanya Charitamrita, starting from verse 108 further, that he speaks many verses about that. But this perfection is achieved when we engaged in paradharma. Savai pumsam parodharmo yato bhakti-adoksha ahait kapatirta yatma shubhashidati. The highest occupation for mankind is pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord, and this must be this has two characteristics. A hierarchy, it must be done, this service to Krishna, without asking anything in return, just out of love. And apatiyata, no interruption, always. So that is pure devotional service. And by that we can attain loving devotional service to the transcendent Lord. So our conditioned state in which we identify with the body is unnatural for the soul. And Srila Prabhupada was making a morning walk with some of his disciples in an American city. I don't remember where, but it is in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. He came across a frozen puddle on the road. He stopped and started to break the ice with his cane. Krishna Maharaj was with Prabhupada and he asked Prabhupada, what are you doing? Prabhupada continued to break the ice. Then Prabhupada said, this is not the normal condition of the water. Similarly, our conditioned life is not our normal condition. We are like fish on the land. The only way to rectify this is to become fixed in devotional service. And to attain this, we must become stitadi or stita prajna in the second chapter of the Gita, stita prajna, fixed in Krishna consciousness. So there are many examples in the Bhagavatam of stita prajna devotees. There is the example of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj was being cursed by Sukracharya, his so-called spiritual master. Because Bali Maharaj was the leader of the demons, but he was a pure devotee of Krishna. But Sukracharya was the spiritual master of the demons. What do the demons want? What do they want? Yeah, sense enjoyment. And Sukracharya was teaching them how in the Vedic way to get in a pious way get sense gratification and get more and more sense gratification. That's called karma kanda. That's the sacrifices to go to heaven and all these things. But of course, if you do sacrifices in the Vedas, who is always the object of the sacrifice? Vishnu. So he knew very good that Vishnu was the goal, but still he was materialistic. And the demons liked him because he gave them more opportunity for sense gratification. But when Bali Maharaj was surrendering to Vamandev, then he said before he surrendered, first he said, this Vamandev you promised him 3 steps of land, but don't do it. You will lose everything if you give to Vamandev. Because he's Lord Vishnu. He will take everything away from you. So don't give him everything, anything. So is that a good spiritual master who says, yeah, don't give anything to Krishna? No. But anyway, it cursed him that he will lose everything. But Bali Maharaj didn't care. He remained fixed in his determination. And that's the quality of Stita Prajna. A pure devotee never deviates from the service of the Lord, despite so many impediments posed by the illusory energy. And the devotee is never disturbed by any loss. And he continues in all circumstances. So this is an extreme valuable quality exemplified by Bali Maharaj. That Bali Maharaj always remained under the Lord's protection, and he got the most exalted position. So in Bhagavad Gita, it's explained one who remains fixed in his determination, that's called a Stita Muni, a sage of steady mind who is not disturbed even amidst the threefold miseries of related when there is happiness. So Krishna consciousness means one becomes undisturbed in the most disturbing situations. And that's this quality of Stita Prajna. And such a devotee is free from attachment, fear, and anger. Attachment. Vitaraga Vayakoda Manmaya Mamupashvita Bhokagana Tapasa Puttamatma Agata. In 4:10 in Bhagavad Gita, that this one verse describes the entire process of devotional service. One becomes free from Vitaraga Vayakoda by attachment. Vitaraga, Vaya, one becomes free from fear, Koda, anger. So that's the purification. How do we become free? Vitaraga, we become free by receiving transcendental knowledge and act according to this transcendental knowledge. Then Krishna says in this verse, by this transcendental knowledge, one becomes purified. And after becoming purified, one develops love for me. The whole process is in this one verse. It shows Krishna consciousness is a process with stages. First become purified, and then become situated in transcendental knowledge. And by this knowledge, this knowledge of Sambandha Jnana, especially, knowledge of our relationship with Krishna. You need three kinds of knowledge to come to love God. Sambandha Jnana, knowledge of our relationship with Krishna, who Krishna is, who we are, and what our relationship is. And then Abhideya Jnana is how to engage in that devotion, in that relationship. Chanting, hearing, devotional service, cooking for Krishna, worshipping the deity, hearing the scriptures, associating with devotees, it's all part of the process of devotional service. That's Abhideya. And then one will attain Prayojan. The goal is love for God. But one must have the goal fixed. The impersonalists, their goal is Brahman. That's just the beginning, liberation. That's not sufficient. That is an intermediate goal. The yogis, their goal is Paramatma. But Paramatma is also an intermediate goal. Paramatma is the controller of material nature. If you know that Paramatma, the controller of material nature, if you realize that, that's realization of the goal of the yogis. What happens? Nothing. You have to go further. To go to Vaikuntha, you need love of God. That's the price. And therefore, Prayojan is Bhagavan realization. So yes. So then one comes then to ekanishta, absolutely devoted to the service of the Lord. And we can obtain that by going to this anartha nivritti process, by chanting in namabhas. And it's a process cultivating determination, giving up our unnecessary sense gratification. We may have many desires. So we may have many desires, but the desire to become Krishna conscious must prevail. That must be much intenser than all other desires. So we must, our endeavor to become Krishna consciousness must be more intense than our desire for material happiness. So a person who has spiritual intelligence, spiritual IQ, he can understand that happiness derived from sense enjoyment is automatically obtained in course of time. Tashaveita payate kovitu na lapyate adbramtam yopayata da lapyate dukavan anyatesukam kalin sarvatra gabi ramasa. This verse says, one should seek for that happiness which is not obtainable from the highest till the lowest planet. And what happiness for sense gratification is concerned, that happiness will come on its own accord. Like happiness, like distress, comes on its own accord. We don't want its distress, but it comes. What can we do? And in the same way, happiness will come on its own accord. This life is only reactions of our actions of previous lives, many previous lives. And Krishna is in our heart and determines which reactions we will get in this life. It's already fixed at your birth. Astrologers, they look at your chart and they tell you your karma. It's already fixed. It's there. They may not be able to see all the details, but they can tell you about what's going to happen, more or less. So that shows it is fixed. And it doesn't make sense to accumulate wealth for what? You still eat 4-5 chapatis every day, of maybe more, but what's going to change? Not much. All this money of the bank and all these possessions, it's just an hindrance, this attachment. If it's not used in Krishna's service, it's pure poison. And that's the reality. So that's spiritual intelligence when one understands this. Therefore, Krishna advises, Matras Pashas to Kantian Sitisna Sukadakada Agaman Paininatyas Tamstitiksvasvabharata. It's Krishna says to Arjuna, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception. O sign of Bharat, you must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So Srila Prabhupada sometimes used the expression, let the dogs bark, the caravan will pass. I remember in my own life that when I started to chant Hare Krishna, I started to chant 16 rounds. Then a few things happened. A few days after chanting 16 rounds, I had a dream. And in my dream, I was sitting with many devotees around a Vyasa-san. On the Vyasa-san was Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada had some booklets in his hand. And in the dream, he looked at me and he takes one booklet and put it in the air and gives it to me and said, "This is your passport for the spiritual world." And I received the passport. And then he said, he raised his hand and said, "Now you have to work on your visa." So in other words, you have to become qualified. But yeah, I was not qualified. So I started to chant. I had my own business. I had 2 children, wife, I had a house, big house, everything paid for, successful businessman. And I started to chant Hare Krishna. And my wife got into a relationship with another man. And I got divorced. I didn't want it. So I started to chant Hare Krishna. That's what's happened. And then my associates in the company, we got some disagreement suddenly from their side, and I sold the company. I lost my job. That for the divorce, I gave my house and so on to the wife for the children. I lost everything in just a few months after chanting Hare Krishna. What could I do? I joined the temple, and that's. But it all, yeah, it was a distressful situation because I was so fixed in devotional service. It's strange. On one side, you have separation from Krishna, from children, from all this attachment, all this, and this heavy. At the other side, I'm fully engaged in devotional service. And it was the happiest time of my life. How can you explain that? This was the happiest time, because Krishna gave me a lot of mercy at that time. I came in the temple in association with devotees, and I felt so satisfied. I was arriving in the spiritual world, or all this distress is going, all this. And I gave my life to Prabhupada, and I'm still giving it. But yeah, because I was fixed in my sadhana, in my devotional practice of chanting, attending Mangalarti, hearing the Bhagavatam together with devotees, that despite this mental disturbance, I felt happy. And now we are more than 30 years later. It all disappeared. It's like a bad dream sometimes. But it's all, nothing hurt for family for 30 years, all gone. So Prabhupada said, let the dogs bark. The caravan will pass. It's all a mental concoction at the end. By that, I was not strongly affected by this forced renunciation. And this is the power of having a daily spiritual practice. It helps one to remain balanced in mind amidst the gravest calamities. Because calamities we can call it calamities if we are really, but if we believe in the reality of the mind, but it's factually all illusion. It's just the mind that makes us feel like that. Now you lost everything. Now you must cry. You must be depressed. But it's only the mind. Instead, I was engaging the mind in Krishna's service. I said to the mind, no time for that. We must serve Prabhupada and Krishna. It's more important. Forget it. But that gives you spiritual power, this sadhana. If one makes spiritual advancement gradually, you become detached from illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, meat eating, and your determination in devotional service becomes fixed. Because otherwise, Krishna gives us a warning in Bhagavad Gita. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to Krishna does not take place. So Prabhupada, his life was, his determination was to satisfy spiritual master. Just for this, he preached in the West, all over the world, in 11 years. Such a determination is a symptom of bhava. And this quality was also in Maharaj Pariksit. He had this perseverant attitude that, when we become sthita prajna, when we become fixed in devotional service, then purification of the heart follows. It follows and so that should be a quality we should develop, this sthita prajna, determined in our surrender to Krishna. And then, when we take to the chanting of the holy name, we will overcome these offenses very quickly. Because of course, Prahlad Maharaj inquired from his son, what is the best knowledge he had received from his teachers? And Prahlad Maharaj was thinking, I will give him the best of knowledge I received from my spiritual master, Narada Muni. And he said, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Varnam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedanam. You hear and chant the holy name, the form, the qualities, paraphernalia of Lord Vishnu. You remember him, you serve his lotus feet, you offer the Lord respect, that you worship the Lord's deity, you offer prayers, you become his servant, then the Lord becomes your best friend, and you give everything to him. So the first three most powerful processes relate to the chanting of the holy name. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. Sukadev Goswami says that constant chanting of the holy name, following in the footsteps of the great authorities, is the doubtless and fearless way for success of all, as in the beginning of the Bhagavatam. That's the beginning of the Bhagavatam. Now in the 12th canto, in the last verse, it is said, the Bhagavatam glorifies the chanting of the holy names because it destroys all sinful reactions and provides relief from all suffering. It means that the Bhagavatam is focused on this chanting of the holy name. So yes, much more details, but the power of the holy name is is explained in the Bhagavatam, especially in the 6th canto, the pastime of Ajamil. So the Bhagavatam explains that Ajamil's fall down, and his life was a life of illicit activities, and it destroys all good qualities, especially illicit sex destroys all good qualities. In his old age, Ajamil had a near-death experience, and he saw these fearful Yamadutas, and he called the name of his son Narayan. Although he chanted the holy name without knowledge, the Vishnu-dutas appeared and forbade the Yamadutas to arrest Ajamil. And although Ajamil had no knowledge and was sinful, the holy name still liberated him. That shows the power of chanting the holy name. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Haridas Thakur explains that liberation is just an insignificant result that is derived from mere glimpse of the awakening of offenseless chanting. Namavas. Namavas leads one to liberation. So it is the experience of many. If one chants the holy name in the morning with full attention, it becomes easier to control and resist the influence of the mode of passion during the day. There are other results. One will avoid unnecessary sense gratification and therefore suffer less. We become elevated from the level of the animals to the consciousness of human beings. And from the human level, one becomes further purified by chanting, by the mercy of the chanting. Step by step, we advance to love of Godhead. Prema Pumarta Mohan. That's the goal. By adding, we should add love and affection to the chanting. That love and affection. And my Guru Maharaj always said, chanting Hare Krishna means saying to Krishna, I love you. You put your love and affection. When you put your love and affection in the chanting, Krishna says, Desam Sota Yuknam Bacham Pilurupakam Tadami Buddhiyam Tamyenam Upayanti Tim. So Krishna says, yes, then the Krishna purifies you. It gives you buddhi yoga, realization to the heart. It purifies you. If we can maintain that platform 24 hours a day, Prabhupada says we become eligible to see the Lord face to face. We regain our eternal blissful consciousness as the position of a servant of the holy name, and realize that Krishna and Krishna's name is identical. Krishna said, Srila Prabhupada was somewhere in America, and a skeptic challenged Prabhupada and said that what good actually is this chanting of Hare Krishna? Prabhupada replied was very short. He said, if it saves one from death, so when we become purified in heart, we gain our eternal life. We have gross bodies and subtle bodies, which we are not. Prabhupada said this hand. You see a gross arm, gross hand. Prabhupada said below is a subtle arm and a subtle hand, because otherwise the gross cannot be there. And beneath the subtle senses are the spiritual senses. They are there, but they are now inactive. By devotional service, we make them active again. Similarly, the subtle body mind means thinking, feeling, willing. But that's material thinking, feeling, willing. Prabhupada says in 177 Bhagavatam commentary, he says, the conditioned soul, the spirit soul has its own thinking, feeling, and willing in the unconditioned state, in the liberated state. So we have this spiritual body and our own thinking, feeling, and willing, but we are not using it. We are using the subtle body. But it's because the subtle body that we take birth again. The subtle bodies is when contaminated with these anarthas, we take birth again. So we have to purify the subtle body. Subtle body means mind, intelligence. We purify the mind by manmana, thinking of Krishna and thinking of the holy name. We purify the intelligence by devotional service and by hearing Shastra, the scriptures, transcendental knowledge. And when the mind is purified and intelligence is purified, there is no false ego anymore. We identify with our real ego. And when we identify with our real ego in devotional service, we forget our gross and subtle body. But because the subtle body disappeared, it's spiritualized. And the gross body is still there. But one who has love for Krishna is described in the scriptures. He's like a drunken man. A drunken man does not know when he wears clothes or not. So, because a person who is completely pure acts with his spiritual body and is not aware of his gross body a little. Therefore, strive, because one is driving on the spiritual energy, the needs of the material body become very, very little, and Krishna maintains it one way or another. But yes, we regain our eternal life when we are purified from all these anarthas. So this is an introduction to the subject matter of the chanting of the holy name, and we will continue tomorrow. Any questions so far on what we discussed? Yeah, there are two. Yes, you first.
Maharaj, when you were explaining about stage of Nishtha where you fixed up in 4 regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds, etc. And I don't know where I'm at the stage of Nishtha, but I do chant 16 rounds. I'm observing as much as possible the 4 regulative principles, but my chanting, I'm committing offenses of inattentive chanting. Is
Yeah,
there.
but there is a difference between Nishtata, Vajna Kriya, and the states of Nishtha. That's completely different. That Nishita Vajna Kriya is before you come to Anartha Nivritti. It is stage before. That's so before you come to Anartha Nivritti, you must be studying your chanting and your practice. And Nishtha means liberation. One becomes fixed in devotional service spontaneously because the heart is pure. That's another state. Yes,
Maharaj, thank you for such a wonderful class. And Maharaj, my question is the extension of Nandgopal Prabhu. Whereas we, like I'm asking for myself, we do 16 rounds every day, and we try to do in the morning during morning program, before the morning program. But Maharaj, it is not still the quality of the chanting, and we finish the rounds, the recommended rounds, by a certain time in the morning. But the same mood is not continued throughout the day. We are always in sok, bhai, and the moha, always the state. How do we keep that the momentum right from the day, morning time till the end when we sleep? We see sannyasi like you and others also. You can wake up like 2 o'clock other day, no issues. For us, there are issues when we want to go for a morning program. If you can give us some blessings for Shiva Maharaj and tips at the same time.
I remember when in the beginning I was chanting that, and during the day I was working. When I remembered Krishna regularly during the day, it was a nice day. When I didn't remember, difficulties was come. And Krishna forced me to remember and take shelter. So that's, yeah, trying to take shelter in Krishna. That it, like I said, first become conscious and then Krishna conscious. If we remember that Krishna is in our heart, he is arranging for our heartbeat, no control of that. He arranges for our digestion. Krishna controls that. And Krishna says, I'm seated in everyone's heart, and for me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Everything you know, you forget, you remember. It's because of Krishna. We don't have control about that. Factually, we don't have control about anything. The only thing we control is our desire. But to become conscious of that, we must hear the Bhagavatam with attention and Bhagavad Gita every day and discuss with devotees. And you will see after a few years, it may take 5-10 years, but you come to the realization that without Krishna's empowerment, I cannot do anything. That because you say when you forget Krishna during the day, how do you feel? Happy?
Yes, oh, beautiful.
Yeah. That's the point. That if you are conscious of that, then we take shelter of Krishna. We learn to remember Krishna, and we learn to pray for Krishna. Tell Krishna, I'm doing my job for you. That you put me in that position to serve you. Please help me to do it nicely. I will give the result to you. So your attitude must change in your job. That when I was, because I was an accountant, but in the beginning, I went to my work and I had to do a lot of input on the computer, data input. And I had with me Bhagavad Gita. And while I was doing the input, I was repeating verses of the Bhagavad Gita and learning them while doing, yeah. So you must find a way. You drive in the car, you hear lectures, that you hear Prabhupada. Always try to connect every moment of your day with Krishna. That you go to work, you have your lunch, prasad, makes also remember Krishna. Usually during noontime, during the break, I was chanting around. Many times difficulties come at work. You pray to Krishna. Please, Krishna, help me how to do this. On my own I cannot do it. I'm depending on you. Help me to how to go forward. So that is a process of becoming conscious of Krishna. We are not in control of our destiny. We are not in control of the results of our work. We are not in control of our capabilities. Capabilities are given by Krishna. If you become conscious of that, you take shelter of Krishna at every moment. And that is what we need. Every moment the illusory energy can be there. Prabhupada was praying before the deities in Vrindavan and the devotee asked Prabhupada, what are you praying for? And he said, I'm praying to the deity, to Krishna, to not let me fall down. And that's Prabhupada. But we find that's not necessary for us. No, I will do everything that. No, we should pray. Yes, Vandana is one of the ways to connect with Krishna. That Queen Kunti have prayers, Akrura's prayers, the Prasheta's prayers. So many is full of prayers, one after another. Should learn to pray. That's communicating with Krishna in the heart. Cultivate this, and your life will change. That it's not that in the morning we chant 16 rounds and then we put our mala there and that's now I can do any damn thing I want. No, you have to continue to be Krishna conscious. Also in all our other activities. And that's training. We must train the mind every moment to connect with Krishna. Use the mind to connect with Krishna. In your business, I don't know, sometimes maybe you have difficult situations with certain persons or some people have to sell something or so. You pray to Krishna in their heart to make their heart soft and see what happens. Krishna is also in their heart. Does that help to think about that?
Yes, Maharaj. As you said, as I told you in the afternoon, that somebody hacked my account.
Yeah.
And he took $17,000 from
Yeah.
the account. And I got it back in the evening today.
Yeah, we pray to Krishna for this. Krishna will protect us. This is our only protector. Prahlad Maharaj says in the Bhagavatam, a mother cannot protect her children. Even a doctor with the best medicine cannot protect his patients. It's all mercy of Krishna. Then we should be aware of that. That's center our life on Krishna every moment. That you have the 9 devotional practices, but we have to remain Krishna conscious and make this steady. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Something else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Bhavaji, thank you very much for the lecture. It was very informative. I just had a quick question. It might be unrelated or maybe related. I think the topic is about chanting, but we ideally would like to keep sadhu sangha with associations like this over here. But what happens when we have to go out to our college, workplace, our other gatherings as well, where people may be discussing mundane things and whatnot. So how do we convert them into the ideal sadhu sangha so that we can keep in mind our chanting, our sadhana, and everything related to it?
Yeah. Thing is that you say converting. What are these people you want to convert?
Like, for example, my friends who only want to discuss about cars, parties, politics, anything like that. Not anything that's mundane, so that they can be talking more about Krishna. And if I'm around them, then it'll be a better experience for me when I'm chanting. And that would be related to it.
Well, the thing is, the first thing you must know, are they receptive? If they are not receptive, don't preach to them. Don't do it. If they are speaking always about sense gratification and worldly things, take a polite distance. But Krishna says that also in Bhagavad Gita. He says, "Surrender unto me." But but surrender unto me in 1866 is not his last instructions of these most important instructions. The next two verses he says, well, one should not instruct anyone who is not austere, who is not my devotee, who does not want to be instructed by you. That we don't have the power to do that. Because if they are envious of Krishna, then, and you try to instruct them, they will be offensive toward Krishna and they will be further away. So Krishna says, don't do it. But we may not have the power, but what you can do is, you can give them a book. If they open a book and they read a book, then Prabhupada is preaching to them. And he has the power. But I would certainly not preach to them unless they are really interested in spiritual life. That Krishna respects the desires of the living entities. That if they don't desire Krishna consciousness, Krishna say, okay, all right, no problem. You wait a few lifetimes. Because everyone is in this material world to enjoy. And Krishna respects that. He created the material world to serve them, to give them the spiritual world, to give them the material world to enjoy. But he created also suffering because he wants them back. But it's up to them. We are not forcing that. We have to be careful with that. But you take a polite distance from them. You give your association. Don't take their association. That especially no food. Food will contaminate you because the consciousness goes into the food that is prepared, and all their sense gratification and their lust goes into the consciousness. You eat it, it makes your mind weak. It's very dangerous. But yeah, that is a fact. We have to be careful with that. Therefore, associate with devotees. That is the best. There was another question.
Yes, Maharaj. I really like the analogy of the fugitive, the prisoner, and the king. And also, I think last Sunday you spoke of being an observer of the mind. And it really struck me. And today, when you were speaking about being conscious before being Krishna conscious, would I be right to make a connection by being an observer of the mind would be to be conscious?
Yeah, that's first you have to be conscious that you are not a mind. And when you are conscious that you are not a mind, but you control the mind with your intelligence based on transcendental knowledge, then you can do something about it. Then you can control the mind and not accepting all these material desires that pop up in your mind. That's an important aspect. That spiritual education, understanding what it means to be spiritual, different from the body. And the spirit soul is the life into the body. The consciousness comes from the spirit soul. We are that consciousness. True. Thank you. You had something?
Thomas, thank you so much for the very nice class. Thomas, you mentioned about your life example that how things were very turbulent and how things went. I mean, like very so-called bad. So whereas and you have taken the shelter of Krishna immediately, and and like another mentioning about that. On the other hand, we see some people, they also go through many things and they try to adjust and they try to fix things. So whereas I'm trying to understand like till what extent one should wait, like the step you have done, like you have taken immediate shelter to Krishna and you have joined Krishna consciousness and the Prabhupada's mission. So how another person who is also, let's say, having some difficulties in their life and trying to fix it. So my first question is, what is making him to fix again these broken things? And second part is more.
Yeah, let's start with the first part. Fixing these broken things. And that the principle is that don't change your situation. Try to be conscious in your situation and work from where you are and work from there. That my situation is different. Krishna changed my situation and I could not do anything about it. There was no question of repairing or something. That was final. And he made that arrangement, nothing I could do about it. So you work from your situation, trying to become Krishna conscious from your situation, and let Krishna change your situation. Then it will change anyway. He will do after some time, probably. But it depends also on your desire. That Krishna reciprocates with your desire when you become a devotee. And it's not necessary that everyone takes sannyas. If you are married and you are agreeing together to cooperate, to assist each other in spiritual life, there's no reason to take sannyas directly. One should take vanaprastha together at a certain stage. But one must see one's situation, how to become Krishna conscious, what is best for our Krishna consciousness. But no need to change our situation. You can have difficulty in your life, and you have to repair things according to these difficulties. But that's for everyone. Everyone has difficulties in one's life. This life is not a life of rose and Sharanamrita. It's fraught with distress. Just being in this material world. Everyone has this distress. So we have Krishna says, tolerate, do the necessary. But don't change your situation on your own accord. And if one does, one is best to consult with the spiritual master. Not acting whimsically on my own accord. That consult what is the best to do in my situation. Even if your situation changes, what is the best? That's important. We take guidance of authorities in all stages. And anyway, a lot to say about that. Anything else? Yeah.
So I think my second part is already answered. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. Good. It's getting late. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please. You sing a prayer. Yeah. Take it.